Hello, we are J&J. He's Justin.
He is JCD or Jared.
Yes, those are my initials. We are two leashed dads that get together to discuss our everyday lives while chained to our everyday responsibilities. And tonight, we are ranking our top 4 TV dads of all time, or at least of the shows that we watched.
Yeah, sadly enough, I had to brush up on my TV dads actually. So
Oh, nice. Okay.
prepping made it. Prepping tonight was a little different.
I actually took a full sheet of notes, believe it or not, which is rare for me, but this is a topic that I was pretty interested in covering. So, because I love my TV and sitcoms. So,
I know. That's one of the reasons I had to brush up is because there have been so many different sitcoms or TV shows I've watched. But some of them I go back and go, I haven't watched these, or who are these, or how many episodes have I really invested in? But
yeah.
yeah, it's a good time. So, uh, I think this episode, we're gonna call it the Mount Rushmore of dads, TV dads, more or less. Kind of give you a perspective here, really about our opinions on why we put them where they're at on our list. Um, what it may be about how they are going about in their parenting lives, uh, and maybe something we as parents or future parents can take away from these TV dads. So,
Yeah, it really is just who's the ultimate of dadhood, of fatherhood? Who are the ultimate 4 players of the fatherhood game in modern culture? And modern maybe be a strong stretch, but
I was
in the
gonna
last
say
50 years, how about that?
that that's fair. That's
Yeah.
definitely fair. So, all right. Well, let's talk about this first, as we always do, our weekly recap. Weekly recaps. Here we go. So, um, my Thursday through, I guess, Saturday, it's kind of bland. Kids are getting out and about still. The weather was kind of nice, so we played outside. Or they've been going to parks and whatnot with Sam, and just kind of also chilled out. Sunday, I ended up going down to Chicago to this store called Micro Center, where I spent some money on computer parts. So I'm working on building a new computer, new gaming computer here. It is not
Why
I'm
Chicago?
because that's where that's the Micro Center closest to us. So it's a computer store. That's we wanted to go visit it and see it. So a friend and I, or a couple of friends of mine and I went down, uh, spent 3 hour, or 3 hours driving basically down to Chicago, and then spent some time down there going through the store, buying some parts. Um, I would show you my computer, but it's kind of wrapped up right now. For keeping it away or out of hair, basically, or cat hair getting into it while it's not being used. Let's see here. What else?
It's
Work is
important.
still bland. Uh, Not a whole lot of things going on there. Let's see here. I'll be honest, guys. I've hit a mental snag or snag in my mental. At least these past few days. It's never fun. Uh, I
No,
think it has
mental snags are never fun at all.
no. I think it has to do with the reality that Sam's time is coming up. She's going back to work soon, so it's going to be a change. I guess I'm trying to mentally prepare for that change here, where she might be gone throughout the nights. I'm going to be the one having to. It's not a, I guess, not a big deal, but it's just been six
It's still a
months.
change.
It is a change, but it's been 6 months with her at home versus when she usually took off, and it was only a few months and then back at it. Where now we've had way too much of an adjustment period. So 6 months versus 3 months or whatever the standard maternity leave is. So that I think that kind of hits it. Again, the kids are enjoying summer though. where they're definitely wanting to play outside, which actually makes me very happy that they want to play outside rather than maybe sit on their butts. Now, we do have a rule of thumb, though, in our household where while dad is working, basically, so when mom goes back to work and dad is working, the kids will not be outside unless they want to play in the backyard. Just just for safety purposes, right?
Right.
It's not like we don't want them to be outside. We just don't want them to be in the front yard where there's not enough supervision. There's no, it's, open versus an enclosed space. Um, but yeah, so that's that. Um, Kind of steal some thunder here a little bit. Father's Day is coming up, right? This Sunday. Well, with Sam going back to work on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Justin. Um, I have basically right now. I think I have no plans as of yet. So, happy early Father's Day to everybody. Actually, this will be airing on Father's Day, or being released on Father's Day. So, happy Father's Day to everybody there or here that listens to the podcast, if you're a father or not. Happy, maybe, just, yeah, happy Father's Day. Happy Grandfather's Day. Happy
Indeed.
Stepdad's Day, whatever you want to call it. If you're, stepfather, grandfather, a father, maybe like well, maybe you might be in a relationship with somebody like you're the boyfriend and they have kids, so and you're like a father figure. Happy, father figure to you, you as well. You deserve it. So that's my week in a nutshell. Jared, take it away, my friend.
Yeah, not a lot going on. There's just like I said last week, just the bog down continues. For a while there, it just seemed like I was out of the what's the word now? Burnout. It seemed like the burnout was gone. I was on a great path of self-improvement and positive thinking, and then the last 2 or 3 weeks have just been just shit. So it's been a roller coaster with my state of mind, and I guess from all the posts and books that I've read, that's perfectly normal. So it's just frustrating because I want to be on top all the fucking time, but I can't. Yeah, but it's got a lot to do with, not a solid night's sleep ever. There's been 1 or 2 nights where I've had a chance, but as new or old parents may know, if you're used to your child waking up at night, right? And they don't wake up, what does your brain do?
You freak out a little bit.
I hope they're breathing, but I really shouldn't worry about that. They're 3 and 5 years old. They're fine.
Yeah.
But it's just nerves, and the old way of thinking when they were babies.
I still do it with my children.
Yeah,
Like I still do it with my 5 and 4-year-old, and it's just nerve-wracking when
yep.
you don't necessarily hear them. Like you can sometimes hear them breathing. Like let's say for example when they take naps, I get concerned when I don't hear them breathing, but then I look at their chest and I see it going up and down, so I'm like, okay, good. And then I still just keep an eye on them for like 2 minutes and be like, just to make sure I'm not going crazy, and I see the chest going up and down still. So I'm like, okay, good.
Right.
But yeah, it's yeah. So,
I think there's just too much going on right now in my life, and I can't really get into it for confidential reasons. So we'll just leave it at that. I will divulge in the future if it goes the right way. So, we're still trying to move, but like I said, there are reasons that I can't mention that are personal and private. So, yeah, as Justin said, Father's Day weekend's coming up. Looking for plans. Finally made one last night. Eleanor has been asking to go to a zoo. So you know what? I have not been to the Milwaukee Zoo in a long time, and I love the Milwaukee Zoo. I did when I was a kid, and I love the train. I love the penguins, the polar bears. So that's my favorite Milwaukee Zoo animals.
just remember,
but she really wants to see zebras.
There you go.
So I got a text this morning from my dad. Hey, we got any plans this weekend? I Sure, you want to come to the zoo?
So they're making a day out of
Yes.
it, huh?
Right. I told that we got to get there right as they open in the morning so we can have, a decent time without any crowds of people. But, we'll see. We'll see if we'll do a cookout or anything afterwards. I don't know. I wanted to do house projects because Natalie, well, what do you want to do this weekend? I went, well, there's a lot of projects that need to get done around the house. And if, we're home doing them finally, we have the chance, why not? But the zoo is more fun. I can spend time with the family that way instead of worried about painting. Painting's the next big project. Painting the kitchen. So
Good luck. That's gonna be a blast. Now
I yeah, I hate painting, but it needs to get done. So, and next, proud daddy moments. Justin, what do you got going
The
on?
proud daddy moments.
Are you
Yes.
a proud daddy?
Well, I mean, I can be. Would you like to be a proud daddy? Anyways, proud daddy moments, or for those again, proud moments that you are very, very proud of, or made you, I guess, somewhat more emotional than usual, in a happy, gleeful way. Uh, I guess this week, I'm still proud of my son Nico, for multiple reasons, but really he's kind of shifted gears when it comes to drinking. For the longest time, we've had him drinking out of water bottles. I don't know where the hell they've gone in the house. Something happened to them.
We'll find them when you move furniture.
Yeah, probably. That's the sad thing. Who knows? And he's been doing a very good job of drinking out of just regular cups. I mean, granted, they are like kid-sized cups, or like a standard, maybe
still.
plastic cup. But he's doing a very good job, and I think it helps the fact that we've reinforced even when he was in the water bottle stages. In which we need to find those because when he goes to school, you're allowed to bring a water bottle. But we've reinforced, all right, when you're not drinking it, put it in a cup holder or put it on the table, wherever, right, rather than letting it sit on the couch or something where you can knock it over and start spilling. So he's done very, very well with those regular kid cups. Now, another thing I'm very proud of right now is when the kids are home during summer. This is a big thing. Working from home for all of you, having that kind of like private workspace. I've recently left my gate open because, as you can tell, my kitties that are playing right now in the corner, they are getting kind of old, where they don't necessarily like to jump the gate anymore or struggle to jump over the gate, because usually I do lock the gate up. But recently for them, but since they've loved hanging upstairs, hiding behind our couch, what their stuff is down here. But needless to say, I'm very proud. My kids seldomly come down here because they know I'm working. So they're very, very
That's good.
respectful at that point, which is really, that's just another proud moment knowing that I don't have to keep correcting them and telling them to go upstairs.
Right.
Unless they really need something, that's when they basically come downstairs. Like they have a question that they need to ask me. So I respect that. I respect that they respect. I'm just very happy that they respect and know that Daddy is working. And sometimes they'll come down and ask me that silly question of, "Are you working or are you not? Are you done working?" It's like, no, I'm still going. But it's just those small things definitely make me a proud daddy.
That's good.
How about you? What are some of your proud daddy moments? Or moment?
We were house sitting my parents' house in Elkhart Lake this weekend, and I needed to go back home to pick up a package, and it was just Eleanor and I. Good daddy-daughter time. And I had the music box downtown set aside an album for me, and I really wanted to go pick it up, so I didn't look like a jerk telling him to reserve something that was for sale, and it just sat behind the desk, So I went and got it, and Eleanor got her first CD. She got a Taylor Swift CD, and she loves Taylor Swift, so
How
Very
did you
proud.
feel
That's
about
her
that
first
one?
one. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And then Cora is talking about using the toilet more. Not actually doing it, but talking about it, which I think is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And also, daddy-daughter time while house sitting. We got my old racetracks, old Hot Wheels racetracks out of the back of the basement. And we were building them, and I even found the old slot car tracks with the
Nice.
electric ones. They didn't work. Yeah,
Nope.
apparently I read the troubleshooting manual, and it said if it sits for a long time, it oxidizes, and the connections kind of just go flat,
Uh-huh.
and you'd have to sand it. And I was like, no, I'm not doing all that.
Yeah.
So, but no, she was really into it, which was a very proud daddy moment for me. Another small thing is they're starting to recognize their good behavior. For example, Cora today came in the house all proud that Eleanor shared a toy with her, and I heard that downstairs as I was working. She told her mom, "Oh, that was so nice. They're recognizing that sharing is
Sharing is
caring."
caring.
Hmm.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
so that was proud daddy moments.
Yeah. Just this, I mean, small things that your kids
Yep.
do or something. Yeah. I love it. It's a good time. It makes me happy
All
when my
right.
kids like to take care of their little sister. My boys like to take or hug their little sister, be around her. It's not like they're like, oh my gosh. They actually adore her. I think they're going to be
You
very
think?
protective of her when she gets older and they get older. So,
Do you think they're gonna stay that same attitude when she starts crawling around and taking their stuff?
yes, in a degree. I mean, I think they will, or just they'll get reminded. That, hey, she's whatever you don't want her touching, you might want to put it away. So kind of again make or providing them a incentive to clean up after themselves. So
That's good.
I still
Yeah,
think
it's good.
they'll be good with her when she's more mobile and whatnot. But yeah.
All right,
So you
let's
ready
get
to get
into it.
down? You want to talk more dads? The Mount Rushmore
Yes,
of dads?
yes. So with my ranking, I did not do like this person would be good for Tom or for George Washington's spot because this.
Okay,
I
well
just did.
that's a little crazy.
No, I didn't do that.
No,
And so you didn't either, which is good.
I'm
Okay.
not going to say okay, here's Abraham Lincoln's spot. No.
Right. Okay.
I'm not
Good.
I'm
Good.
not
Good.
going to take the time to do that because that's not really we're just calling it the Mount Rushmore of dads because these are the four people that we would see on the face that if we built Mount Rushmore on a dad's spectrum, these are the four I would have on my Mount Rushmore. Not in any particular order. I mean, I do have them 1 through 4, but it's not like, all right, well, here's, number 1 because that's number 1, or here's number
Same.
2. But it's
Yep.
just like however they put them on the order, whatever. I don't care. But, do you want to start from the bottom? Or, I mean, do you just
They're
want to
not
go
in any
1, 2,
particular
3,
order,
4,
so
or 4, 3, 2, 1? Or do we want
we can
to,
just do fourth. We can do four through four. Start with four and do one, and
okay.
then go to one.
Or do we want to talk about maybe some runner-ups first?
Let's do runner-ups first. That's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
We planned this out before the episode. We're just putting you guys on. This is
It
this is
was all
totally
planned
just a
out.
joke.
We just
Yeah.
want you to understand that
Yep.
runner-ups are always going to be the first things that come first.
Yep.
So, um oh god. All right. So, let's talk about some runner-ups here. I've got, honestly, I only have like 2 runner-ups that I could come up with at the time.
I got 3. It's
Okay,
fine.
so I mean, it's not a bad list by any means.
Yeah.
But my runner-ups based on the shows that I could remember at while going through this and prepping here tonight. I would say are from God. Now I'm spacing on the TV show. Shame on me. Everybody Loves Raymond. Ray Romano.
Really? Raising runner up. Okay.
Yeah, he's a runner-up for me. Just because I think I make a connection with him in a sense. I don't want to say I was necessarily you know, always protected or overprotected, having an overbearing mother and everything like that, where he's got that still. His mom and dad live very close. I think it diminishes the meaning of being a parent when they're always there, kind of breathing
Yeah.
down your neck, almost telling you how to raise your own children, therefore causing him to, again, this is from what you see in the whole plot of the sitcom anyways, is that he is a lazy father. But he's still a good father by all means. I just honestly
Yeah.
feel that he's got his strengths where uh, he knows when to escape. I think that's also a weakness though, is he escapes probably way too much because he doesn't want to do too much in parenting side of things.
Right. He's
Um,
openly admitted that he does not want to be there all the time.
Yeah. Yep. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of a weakness or an opportunity for him to improve
Yep.
on. But his strength, he's still able to work with his spouse. When he is when he is there, they still have, I would say, great communication at that point too. For
Mostly
diving
led
in.
by Deborah. Yeah.
Yep. It's always led by Deborah.
Yeah.
Or mostly, you're right. Um, but then again, she's always the one that's kind of there.
Yeah. Well,
So
she has to be because who else would be besides his parents?
that's true. And you don't want his parents raising their kids because that's not, I mean, they're not their kids, they're their grandkids. So,
Right.
but it's still funny. So, and then obviously, I think there's still some very good life lessons that they all learn, or that he learns as a father and as a kid still, or like a child to his parents. Um, there's just some great life lessons along in the show itself. So that's why he's kind of on my runner-up list there.
Yeah, and that's really funny that you have him as a runner up. Natalie and I talked about this in depth before we got on tonight, and as I may have mentioned it before, but Natalie and I watch a sitcom, the entire series, every night before we go to bed. Well, no, that didn't come out right. We watch an episode or two of a series, and we just do it like a marathon until
Uh-huh.
it's done.
Nice.
So right now we're in Everybody Loves Raymond, and so I have a lot of fresh ideas in my head that yeah, he is a good dad. He's not some sort of gigantic asshole, or he beats on him, or
Hmm.
just ignores the hell out of him, because he doesn't. He does pay them attention when it's convenient for him, and he wants to pay them attention, but at the same time, he doesn't grow as a person throughout the series. In fact, if you watch it the entire way through, he gets stupider. The writers make him stupider
They really do.
as the series goes on.
They really do.
And it's kind of annoying because they touch on the same like problems more than once.
Actually,
Like his same attitude problems more than once. And a person who pays attention and cares about his family would hopefully grow.
yeah.
You know,
I think it was the writer's problem though, but that's diving in a
I
completely
agree.
different direction at that point. So
I agree.
remember, we're here to talk about Mount Rushmore of dads, not
Okay, yes. So your
not
next
Mount
runner up,
Rushmore of terrible writing.
right?
So, all right. I'll hit my other runner up here just to kind of get that out of the way here. Uh, it's Mr. Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother.
Interesting.
There's, as much as it's
Yeah.
not really a show about a dad being a parent, and more or
Right.
less talking about how he's going about meeting the kids' mothers. I think throughout the time he does learn his lessons and starts understanding what it might be like because of his friend, um, you know, Jason Segel being
Marshall.
Marshall and them having a child, or him, Marshall and Lily having a child, um, and being kind of like that uncle figure, or godfather, if I recall.
Yeah.
Um, Still being in a picture like that, and how as much as you've got your group of friends, it almost feels like sometimes he was that father figure in a sense to some people there. Um,
Oh, for sure.
but they were always kind of just there together and still able to collaborate and work together in a way they needed to. So um, it was, that's just kind of why he's on the runners up there. You don't really see much of a parent development with him, uh, but he's still got his strengths of being able to tell stories. I think he had a very good job, like paying job, that gets him through to help his kids, and they're still living fairly well off,
Yeah.
from what
I
you can
assume
see.
he's an architect and when the kids are when he's telling the kids the story.
Yeah, or he had his job. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
No, he's got good moral values as well.
yep.
He's he sticks to his values throughout the series pretty well.
He really does. Yeah, I guess I failed to talk about that, but definitely he's got a good head on his shoulders,
Hmm.
compared to Barney.
Right.
But you
And
could definitely
God, he goes
see
after
those
what he
morals
wants.
shine.
Right. Yeah, he's very determined, and I love that show because there's a lot of good characters in it, and even Barney learns
Hmm.
throughout the series as well. And I like how, again, I don't want to get into the writers, but I like how they made the characters very well rounded and without a lot of plot holes as well, except that damn pineapple story that we still don't know what it is. But
You'll never know.
I don't agree, I will never agree with the way the show ended, but again, it's not about the show, it's about Ted Mosby and
Yep.
his fatherhood. So yeah, that's a good runner up for sure.
All right,
For sure.
let's hear it. I want to hear your runner-ups now.
Bill Cosby is a runner up. He was in contention for the top four because of the Cosby TV show not has anything to do with his personal life. I've always been a strong believer in respecting the person's artistic work and not their personal life. I.e., I'm a Marilyn Manson fan. I don't agree with his personal life, but I do enjoy his music.
Fair.
So, Bill Cosby, I grew up when there was nothing else on TV. When I was home from school in the summer, nothing else was on. I watched the Cosby Show, Channel
Hmm.
18. It was always on, I thought. And, he had very good moral values. He he treated every one of those kids almost the same, and he was a very good influence to his kids,
Yeah.
and he was a good husband. And I just and even in modern culture at that time, he was considered this iconic dad. But he dropped off because I found somebody much better.
Okay. Yeah, I would say don't have much input on this because it's been so long, that I really don't remember much of the Cosby Show. But I do agree that from obviously, again, keeping personal stuff out, right? Uh, all TV shows related. I think he still did a very, very good job of,
Right.
you know, remaining uh, determined to make sure his kids have a good head on their shoulders, treating them all equally. So it's not like for example, you ground one, you don't ground the others for the same issue.
Right.
Everybody got treated. All his kids got treated the same. Um, so I would definitely agree based on what I have on my list as well. He would probably have fallen under a runner up.
Yeah. Next is Frank Barone.
Uh...
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
I know, and he's such a asshole, curmudgeon old man.
Uh,
But at the end of the day, he really cares about Ray and Robert.
I don't know. I
And
don't know if he really cares about Ray all too much. I
I know,
mean,
but
some of those it's some of the episodes that I see. He he is, like you said, that old man. He's just kind of like, fuck it, I'm done with I've done everything I could.
right.
I mean, I am in a disagreement with him and his, with the whole spousal thing too. But it's almost like the two should have been divorced,
Right.
even though it's just their way of communicating at that point too. In their
Right.
in their age, I'm sure that's really what it comes down to is, uh, what or you didn't do this. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. I I'm in agreement that he's a runner up. Uh, he definitely does. To me, would not deserve a top spot at all. Um, I just think he doesn't care. I think he plays a little game of favoritism between the kids.
Yeah. Well, so does Marie. So
Yeah, I mean, you got an overbearing mother who protects Ray. Yeah, he was the eldest.
no,
Got a kid.
Ray's youngest.
Oh yeah, Ray is the
Robert's the
youngest.
oldest.
Robert's, yeah. See, I can never keep those two straight. Um, but yeah, it was always that way too. Overbearing on the young or overprotective of the younger one. So, but the
Yeah,
more
and
successful one at that too.
yeah, continuing down the sliding scale, Hank Hill is the next one.
Hank
Is the
Hill.
final runner-up.
I am not familiar with Hank Hill at all.
King of the Hill.
That's why. Okay. Never got into King of the Hill.
I'm watching episodes here and there. He's got good moral character, good moral values. He's a little bit too stuck in his ways, a little bit too judgmental of his son. Uh, Almost to a fault where he almost makes fun of him in his own way, but tries to correct his son being who his son wants to be, which is not always greatest. But he's on the list because he's got good moral values. He sticks to them, and he's not violent or abusive or any way.
Right. Okay.
And he sets a good example for his son Bobby that he has a good solid career. He's passionate about his career. He sells propane and propane accessories, and will do that till he dies.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's my runner-up list. You should check it out. It's a decent show.
I've got plenty of shows to watch, although I'm still a little
Yeah,
pissed off at Netflix.
it's on Hulu, but yeah,
I'm just saying, I'm still pissed off at Netflix. I don't have
for
access to
why?
my household anymore
Oh,
because of their stupid shit that they decided to pull.
yeah.
Anywho,
Anywho, who's
let's do it.
your fourth?
My fourth, the good old Mr. Red Foreman from That 70s
Oh
Show.
yeah.
As much as he comes off as a hard ass, which he is, being on the older side too, I know we talked a little bit about this, but I think I overlook this and I go, he understands what he's trying to do.
Yes.
Now, yes, he overlooks his daughter, Lori, and for what she really is. I always think she's still a sweetheart, right? Playing a favorite
Well,
of the
yeah.
eldest and being being his daughter, where he's like, I want to toughen Eric up a bit here. I that can be frustrating coming from a parent. You should treat your kids this, equally. Um, but for the times that it was, right? We're talking That 70s Show, for example, and it's a little different. You want your son to be a tough kid like you, because of how you grew up in your lifetime, being part of like the war or whatnot. Um, Keeping him that way. He was still very strict in a sense, but he still had a leash around his neck because of Kitty. I mean, they still had their battles. He would lose quite a bit uh, in the long run, but he was still to me, he was still very open-hearted as he had his moments with each of Eric's friends, and even again later on bringing uh, bringing Hyde in as or being more of a parent figure for Hyde, who never had his like parents around basically. So that's why he's my number 4 is because he's as much as he's a hard ass and always like put my foot up, or you want to know where my foot's gonna be up your ass.
Yeah.
He's still deep down a good father with his strong morals, his beliefs that he wasn't necessarily trying to push them on people in a way, but he was still making sure that the kids had morals rather than just let something run away. Now, granted, they were always in his house or whatnot, but it was still one of those things where he still laid down the law when things went kind of wrong, or he made sure that all of a sudden Eric or friends knew that here's your lesson. Hopefully you learned from it now. Like getting caught with the kegger or
Right.
going against parents' wishes by going somewhere and then needing to use them, using Red and Kitty as a way to get back home. So just a couple things like that. That's why I put him at number 4.
Well, he really did care about Eric. He only really wanted what was best for him. He didn't really empathize with him a lot, and he really wanted Eric to be him.
Yeah.
Making fun of his Star Wars obsession, making fun of a bunch of stuff with Eric, and that's just because it wasn't what he liked. It wasn't what he was into.
Yeah. He was into the cars.
He wasn't super supportive.
No. I agree. And those are definitely some of the weaknesses as well. Not being very supportive, trying to put your son down, but yet he still cared in the long run. It's not like he was there, but he cared in a way that a lot of people nowadays would be offended by.
Exactly. He was a good representation of the time.
Mm-hmm.
That 70s show, the post World War II generation, having a kid that grew up in the 70s, that had to have been an intensely just confusing ass time.
Yeah.
So, no, it was good number 4.
Yeah.
For sure. I have Dan Connor. That was my 4th. From, do you know?
Nope.
Roseanne?
Okay, yeah, I was looking at that and I'm like, Dan Connor, sounds familiar. Oh, yeah.
He was he seemed to always be there for the kids, no matter what. He was a very hard worker, did what he had to do for his family, even if it meant sacrificing something that he loved or wanted to do. He always made sure that they were taken care of. He was pretty brutally honest, almost to a fault. But he developed and grew throughout the show as well. He had some redeeming qualities towards the end of the series where technically he died. No spoiler necessary. But the con is that he had an anger problem. And that was covered in many episodes where he got into fights, he beat the shit out of somebody, and he would often, if someone were to come against his kids, hurt his kids, he would take it upon himself to beat the shit out of that person.
Mm-hmm. So he kind of stepped over a big line. I mean, granted, he's in his eyes, he's doing something that he deems necessary, protecting his kids or defending his kids in such a sense. But he had gone above and beyond with the anger issues and maybe gone a little too far.
Yeah, he went a little too far sometimes. He was not always supportive in letting the kids be who they wanted to be. He was definitely like Red Forman, where he wanted his kids to grow up like him and wasn't open to any sort of change or compromise. And then finally, he wasn't always super helpful around the house, obviously sparking up arguments with Roseanne about not helping, as well as complaining about helping kids with their homework or helping with chores in general.
Mm.
It was always his schedule and not anyone else's.
Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting number
But
4 for sure. But
he was very iconic at the time in modern culture, and having watched the series, I can definitely see why. And even Roseanne, I don't like her as a person, but I think she did a damn good job with the show. And she definitely changed my mind because
hmm,
I didn't want to watch it at first because I was very annoyed by her voice and just the way she acted, but it
but it
ended up
changed.
working out pretty good.
There you go. Nice. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. All right. I think this one might take you by a little bit of a surprise.
Okay.
We know him. We love him. Mr. Matt LeBlanc as Mr. Adam Burns from Man with a Plan.
I have not seen that.
So basically what it is Man with a Plan, he's the working dad. His wife Andy has been a stay-at-home mom for 13 years. She wants to get back, kind of like this whole start is she wants to get back in the workforce. He hasn't really been around as a parent, so that's kind of like a downside for him. In the first 13 years of life, he's really kind of been off working for the family. So he's like a construction. He owns his own construction business essentially, with his
Okay.
brother. So it's another thing with the sibling and the involved and whatnot. Um, However, he eventually starts taking on some parental responsibilities, and he always had in his eyes that his kids were so angelic, like they were all like goody goody. Nothing was wrong because Andy was always there. Well, it turns out once he starts taking care of the kids, taking them to school, it's just not what his ideals were or what he had originally had a concept of. So he quickly learned the hardships that he's now going to be going through. I think he does a very good job, though. With him and Andy, they are very well and communicative. Um, they do bicker or have their moments where they do, as most couples do. They do poke fun at each other and doing it in such a loving way as well. Really to teach the other a lesson. Um, the house does turn into. I mean, at one point they also used some trickery on the kids. The kids are a bit older, so sometimes the
Oh,
kids catch on and whatnot, and the house sometimes the house just doesn't go the way, and then all of a sudden the parents know how to trick the kids in doing what they should be doing. Or like, okay, here we're gonna be the like you and you can be like us. So here's what mom and dad do all day long, like doing the dishes, those chores, right? All of a sudden the kids have an issue with it, as mom and dad are being, the way their kids behave and messy or whatnot and just causing havoc. And it's like, okay, we've learned our lesson essentially. So
yeah.
so Adam Burns is always I would say, very good at providing those types of life lessons when working together with Andy. They still also provide the idea of being able to get away, having some alone time with each other. Um, they do become somewhat protective of their eldest daughter, who's ended up getting like a boyfriend or whatnot. So maybe mismanaging it, not getting or taking the opportunity to learn about the boyfriend per se. Just kind of jumping the gun, thinking everything is going to go wrong. And sometimes they do become very nosy. But I think it provides an idea of how parents can be in the modern time, uh, or they still tend to be somewhat protective of their daughters, um, making sure that something, I don't know. I don't know what causes it. Why can't you be protective of your sons too? Um, Hoping they're going to be smart, but I think sometimes it's the daughters that are always going to be the smarter ones in the long run. Um, but
Sometimes.
you learn about the way they try to manipulate, or um, just learning about some of the real life issues. They do cover some big issues as well. And throughout one of the times too, um, they have a babysitter for the kids, and the babysitter starts hitting on Adam,
Okay.
like checking him out, like having the thing for him, and
Yeah.
he catches on. He's like, she's looking at me, like giving me all the, catching on and hitting on me. Tries to tell his wife, she's not buying it. Like, nope, it's not possible that this babysitter is hitting on you, when it's really she is, like, she's got a thing for dads. It's like, oh my gosh, the real life scenario. And it puts it shines light in a scary way too. It's like, is this something that can possibly happen? How would this get handled?
Right.
How would I handle this? So that's why, that's my number three. I think they still do a very good job overall of handling those types of scenarios. Also still providing for the children, making sure that they learn their life lessons at such a good stage in life, rather than maybe trying to throw it, or like, here's how I lived growing up. It's not like they don't even try to force their kids to be them by any means. They do try to provide those lessons to make sure the kids are actually growing up, knowing these lessons and how to handle them appropriately.
Nice. I'll have to check that show out. Sounds good.
Yeah, I don't remember where it's on. I think I honestly, but I like it. I haven't finished it. It's been a while. I actually think it was on Netflix at one point.
Okay. So my number 3 is Martin Crane
Martin
from
Crane.
Frasier.
One of the sitcoms I never got into.
Martin Crane definitely was a very strong, supportive father with good values, and he gave his kids the freedom to be who they wanted to be. His kids, Frasier and Niles, ended up being more like their mother, the scientist, the fancy dancy opera, the fancy plays and all that other stuff, wine, food.
Mhm.
And Martin just let them be. He didn't ever try to sway their thinking into his way, or like you saying, no, that's not right. You can't do that. That's stupid. That's garbage. He might have expressed his dislike and he didn't want to be involved in any of that, but he never stopped them from wanting to do it, or never stopped them from, being who they wanted to be. He would always bend over backwards for his kids, going out of his way just to help them out, or make them, or solve whatever problem they were going through.
Hmm.
And it was always really nice to kind of, I've seen the show all the way through probably 7 or 8 times. So it's always, as I grow up and be a father, I always see the show in a different way. Where in college I was more leaning towards taking after Frasier or Niles, that I liked fancier things, and other people my age were all about drinking and partying and all that stuff.
Right.
And I was more of a, enjoy good music and drink some fancy brandy or wine.
You didn't make the
And then
parent
as I
connection
became
until now.
right. And as I watch it as I become a parent, I lean more towards watching Martin, how he interacted with his adult sons, all the stories when Frasier and Niles were growing up and how he treated them, and how, Frasier and Niles were never pressured to be something. He just let
Nice.
them be and stood by them and supported them throughout that journey. Cons, he was not affectionate. as most jokes and sitcoms were back then. The dad never said "I loved you," never hugged him,
Yep.
kind of thing, and very judgmental. He didn't like what the boys were doing sometimes with operas and fancy restaurants, and he made that clear. But he never, put him down for it, kind of thing. And he was kind of semi-racist, but again, that's part of the joke where he was in Korea, and he was just a man of his time.
Yep.
So
Interesting.
yeah,
Very interesting
well,
number.
hopefully someday you can check it out.
One of these days. One of these days. There's definitely sitcoms out there that just don't sit down and watch. Um, just because I find something else to more entertaining at the time. So my number two, the good old Mr. Tim Allen. Now,
Okay,
it's in his more recent show.
Last Man Standing.
Last
All
Man
right,
Standing, Mr. Mike Baxter. Um, the reason I'm choosing this one is because it's more recent. So there is somewhat of a recency bias. I think still Tim Allen is a very iconic person when it comes to his father figures within his TV shows, like being Tim in Home Improvement. But I think in this one, in a relation, being Mike Baxter, he changes his scope of how maybe he is a parent. I think he's still very, very loving. But he also, you can tell that he's still reserved about his kids' choices or the people that the choices they have, the people they fall in love with or start seeing again or whatnot. He's very opinionated.
yeah.
So, looking at that, he doesn't give people a chance sometimes. As such, like Ryan, his eldest daughter's husband, they do butt heads, right? But at the same time, with them being very opinionated as well, they're butting heads, they're developing themselves, or it's just the clash they have about how they view the world. And sometimes I think he does with that. It's one of his weaknesses. He tries to get too involved sometimes when he shouldn't be, especially when it comes to, yes, I get it. It's like his grandchild. It is his grandchild that he's trying to be involved in, but he's stepping over a line he shouldn't be. Because he's not responsible for raising his grandson. That's his daughter's job. So I
very
think
strong-willed.
He's very strong-willed. He wants to put people in their place. I think he still has very high morals at that point. All in the sense he's again caring, and he shows it in that way. Now, granted, he does like to. I think he does come off a little racist towards some of his friends, but it's because of his friends group that he has, right? With Chuck, for example, that they poke at each other quite a bit, or they all like him and Ed poke at each other quite a bit. But that's just because that's how it was, or that's how it is with them, and being very tight like that. Now, he likes to put his middle daughter down, or I mean, he puts Kristen down, he puts Mandy down, right? Quite a bit. Tells basically he's calling Mandy stupid, not directly like that, but always calling her stupid. Trying to force his own opinions again onto her decisions. He challenges them in an unnecessary way. I like the idea that he does challenge his girls to think a bit, or challenge people to think, but sometimes I think it's, again, crossing a line when he shouldn't. Or, again, to that point of, like, when Mandy wants to open her own business, he tries to step in before she even asks for help. You just can't do that. You got to let them try to grow on their own sometimes, make those decisions. And then if they do need your help, then they can ask. But, he does play favoritism to Eve a little bit, just because Eve kind of, I think at that point has grown to like the things he likes as well. That might be a little bit of him developing her in his way of his own, the way he wanted her to be. But all in all, I think he's my number two because he's still got the ability to provide for his family. He teaches them valuable lessons, like when they all go out to the cabin or whatever to escape from the world that they are sucked in, the world of technology. Just reminding them that nature is out there as well. You don't need technology all the time as much as we've become dependent on it. You got to remember you have to be somewhat independent too. So, I mean, he still provides those valuable life lessons. I think he's still a very caring person for his daughter's spouses or significant others. But at the same time, he still needs to, he's got to remember not to cross those lines.
Right.
So that's why he's my number two. Yeah, I still say a very strong, iconic person at that point.
Yeah, that's good. Number two. I like that. Number two for me, Phillip Banks.
Mr. Banks.
Uncle Phil.
Mr.
Uncle Phil.
Banks. Uncle Phil. Yep. Fresh Prince.
Pros right off the bat, strong-willed. Get it? Strong-willed?
Yep. Knew you were going with that one. Good dad joke right there.
But no, I mean, he really sticks to his guns. He sets a good example for his kids, for sure. I mean, Jesus, he's a freaking judge. Was he a lawyer before or whatever? But he became a judge.
That's kind of how it normally works.
Yeah, so I don't know. He was just a very strong character and a good example for his kids. He was always helpful. He was supportive where it counts, very hardworking, dedicated to his career. Examples of, supportive where it counts is when, I'll never forget the iconic episode. Everybody talks about it and on YouTube, it seems like, but when Will's father ditches him and Phillip Banks is there to take him in his arms and support Will through his very hard times at that point. I mean, that's a very tear-jerking episode. But he's super strict. Not a lot of flexibility there.
Nope.
Not always open to new ideas. Kind of like Red Forman, he has his ways, and you follow those ways, or you're getting in trouble. So I had mentioned that he treats his kids differently, each one of them. Hillary gets treated differently than Carlton. Carlton gets treated much differently than
Nikki.
Ashley, yeah, and Nikki, and then Will, too. Yeah. But Natalie said, well, they are different ages, which is true. They are. They're all different ages, and you can't really treat Hillary like a child because she's an adult. And
right.
Yeah. So, so I kind of scratched that off, but it's still very apparent.
Yeah. I mean, he's still very consistent with how he wanted to develop his children in that.
Yes.
In the way. So.
Number one. What do you got?
Hello, Mr. Bob Saget, Mr. Danny Tanner from Full House.
Yes. God, you and Natalie were on the same page with that one, but I have only seen maybe a total of 4 or 5 episodes of Full House in my life.
Oh.
So I have not had enough experience.
Yeah. No. So with Danny Tanner, for everybody that knows Full House, right? Being a father of 3 girls, recently widowed due to an accident or his wife having an accident. Trying to find out how he's going to raise 3 little girls, all slightly different ages. I mean, you've got DJ and Stephanie kind of in school age, and then you've got Michelle, who's essentially an infant toddler and growing up. he's he works very hard to build his relationship with his daughters, making sure they're being provided for, um, not knowing really what to expect with them. Uh, but when something goes wrong, they always have those very heartfelt conversations and those valuable lessons that come through. And the nice thing is too, he's not doing this alone. He's got basically his brothers, you know, Jesse and oh my God, Joey, Jesse and Joey.
Yes, just yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know they're there and helping him out, and they're all on the same page. So very very much kudos. It's kind of like a group effort, right, to raise three little girls, all living in one house, one very small. I won't say small, but it's in San Francisco, so the houses are very tight. Um, you know, as much as it's a weakness, the only thing I can think of as a weakness here for him is him being like a germaphobe, or things aren't maybe not so much a germaphobe, but the cleanliness.
Yeah.
That was really the biggest downfall, but that's just kind of part of the character himself. Um, I think sometimes another weakness could be not being able to take care of the situation right there and then. Um,
Yeah.
Usually you don't get the life lesson until essentially the end of it, once you're able to learn what's truly going on. But he's still very open. It took him a while to be there for like DJ's friend as well. Again, everybody started just coming in to the house, and I mean, I love their motto. Like when they knock or ring on the doorbell, and then the motto is "It's always open." So the family is very open to having people just walk, like their friends or other family members, just walk in. So they're very welcoming at that point too, and it's very strong. And I just love Full House. I love Danny Tanner. Thank you, Bob Saget, for all your time. May you rest in peace. But overall, that's why he's a very strong family man, making sure that everybody is being raised, or his girls are being raised, and really essentially able to do better than he has done. So kind of
Yeah.
focusing on what a parent should do is always make sure that your child is better off, or learning from you, but also at the same time able to be better than what you are today, I guess. Not saying you're a terrible person or he's ever a terrible person, but my goal is to make sure my children are better than what I am.
Yeah.
Hit me with your number one.
Tim Taylor.
Tim Taylor, Tim Taylor, Tim Taylor. Why does that sound familiar, but I can't think of it?
Home Improvement.
Oh, there you go. Oh my gosh. There we go. We did talk about it a little bit before, but I forgot his last name was Taylor.
Yep.
Already.
Yep. So Tim Allen, Tim Taylor, whatever.
Yep.
God. Probably top 3 sitcoms of all time for me is Home Improvement. And it's such a good example too of how a family maybe should work, but also should grow. He was very supportive when it counted. Good morals, set a decent example for his kids. Helpful, funny, learns and grows throughout the show. His character definitely doesn't get stupider as it goes on. He learns from his mistakes, for sure. Prime example in my head right now, and this is also part of my con, is where he's super judgmental. When his eldest son, Brad, gets a haircut that he doesn't agree with, he fucking shuts him out. Like, he just ignores him and stops talking to him. Right, and just shun. Like, seriously? And then finally throughout the episode, he kind of warms up to it and whatever, but that's a real con for me. Like, I would never do that to my kids. I would never shun them for getting a haircut I don't agree with. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And maybe because I saw that episode so early on in my I think it was in college when I first started watching that show over and over again. Maybe because I learned from that. Like I saw the pain that Brad went through, and I saw the conflict that happened because of that. That I learned from that.
Yeah.
Because had I not had that experience, maybe I would have. But you never know. So he's a little bit sexist when it comes to duties around the house, as well as a woman should work versus not work kind of thing.
Also part of
Uh,
the time.
right. Very much agree with that. Very clumsy, obviously, and dangerous when he's doing his home improvements.
Yes.
So,
And it's funny though because you talked about Home Improvement with Tim Taylor being number one. By all means, I would probably agree. I had thought about putting him or using Tim Allen as Tim Taylor at that point too, um, but I just figured Danny Tanner was so much better for that point. But hey, I mean, these are opinions, right? You
yeah,
know, it was just funny because I'm like, oh God, he played such an iconic. He was an iconic dad in both as Mike Baxter and Tim Taylor. It was just very hard to decide, but Mike
yeah,
Baxter won out because of the recency bias at that point. Um, and then you think of it this way too: he's handling three boys in Home Improvement, whereas he's handling three girls. Not saying one's better than the other, but I think it's just the way he handles it differently. I mean, I think maybe both parent figures were played somewhat similarly, where he may have shunned out his daughters a little bit, or basically kind of reacted differently, or maybe somewhat similar in regards to the times, right? Calling your daughter stupid, that's not exactly acceptable. Calling somebody your child stupid, just not really acceptable. Shunning your child out because you don't agree with the haircut they got, that's kind of a sad thing. But
yeah.
you know,
But I love the communication that even in Last Man Standing, he had good communication with his kids,
oh yeah,
and Home Improvement, he had good communication in the end of the episode, but he still was able to sit down and talk to them
mm-hmm.
like adults. Now, maybe that's because the kids were a little bit older than what I'm used to now, but I
Right.
still just admire him for the way. And again, it's a TV show, it's writers, it's
Mm-hmm.
a kid acting, it's not an actual situation, but still, I can dream.
I think the writers still portray very good and accurate scenarios and covering those
Right.
like
Oh, yeah.
lessons as well.
Right.
So, by all means, I mean, kudos to the writers for making these parents the way they are.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I say kudos to like Tim Allen, kudos to Bob Saget, and everybody that plays these parents or these fathers. You bring these characters to life, and they do a very damn good job of it too. So, but yeah, no, I mean, you've already had some jokes in there tonight, but hey, let's talk some dad jokes. Send this off with a bang here. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, in relations to some dad jokes, well, I won't say much of Father's Day here, but um, just the top, kind of a dad joke here. How did Darth Vader know what Luke got him for Christmas?
He sensed it with the Force.
He felt his presence.
Ah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. To whoever stole my copy of Microsoft, I will find you. You have my word.
I love it.
Yeah. Atheism is a non-profit organization.
Okay. Oh, got it. Yep. Yep.
There we go.
The wheels. Yep.
The wheels had to turn a little bit. Did you know the shovel was a groundbreaking invention?
No. No.
Does anyone need an ark? I know a guy.
All right. I'm going to sign off.
There. I got Jared to
The
shamefully...
first threatened to sign off because it's so bad.
Nope. Those are some of the dad jokes, though, so I'm good. I got my goal in for the night.
I know a
Got him to
guy.
be shameful of some of the jokes are just like, oh my God. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoy the Mount Rushmores of TV dads here. Again, we will see, again, we appreciate you coming, listening, whichever social media you listen to it on or however you get a hold of us. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, TikTok as well. But again, we appreciate it. Jared, I appreciate your time here as being an amazing host as well. Thank you for your wonderful time and your sharing of wonderful Mount Rushmore TV dads. Without further ado, guys, see you next week.